Want to start, Sue?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sue Parsons, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this evening. Before I formally introduce my colleagues with me this evening, just a couple of housekeeping. We will put a few times through the evening in the chat a link, and if you fill it in after the session, later this week, we will send you a certificate of participation. And I know for some of you, you want that for your classes, etc. Also, I have a note here that we will be taking questions, but we're going to save those to the end. So if you can kind of hold on to those questions until we get to them at the end. I sincerely thank you for joining us this evening. I have the pleasure of being your facilitator. Before we go any further, though, we're going to ask you, boy, that chat, this is awesome. That participant list getting long. If you can just share with us, and it's not going. There you go. If you can just share with us in the chat box the following. If you just tell us your name, if you can. If you're teaching, where you're teaching, or what you plan on teaching. Okay.
Welcome, Jeremy.
Recognize
You
a few
plan to
names.
teach elementary. Jessica, welcome. You want to teach, you plan on teaching college NK1. Sabrina, welcome. Bernadette. All right. Amy Fernandez wants to teach college chemistry. You rock. That's fantastic. Carla, middle school. Elizabeth, elementary. Eric Johnson, nice to meet you. Paraeducator. Daniela, preschool. Got wide range here tonight, Sue. Beatrice,
Awesome.
a little bit of everything. All right. The one-room schoolhouse.
Literally, huh? And a couple more.
Yeah, Carolina is planning to start with teacher assistant special ed, and Dalia early childhood, and Alejandra wants to teach elementary. So that's fantastic.
Nice
Welcome.
variety. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to be with us. We thought it was important that you know a little bit more about each of us. So we're going to take a minute and introduce ourselves. As I said, I'm Sue Parsons, and some of you know me, but if you don't, I am the retired, I know I look so young, but I'm the retired Educational Partnerships and Program Director and Teacher Track Director. But my journey really began since third grade. I knew I wanted to teach. And over the years, I think I honed my skills, whether it be being a private tutor or tutoring in a middle school with children with visual needs, and continuing into getting a secondary credential and a master's program. And I found my love for teaching at the community college, and that's mathematics, Jeff Bradbury. We always have this little feud going back and forth. But I taught mathematics at Cerritos College, and then, as I shared with you, went on into developing programs and grants and into administration. So that's kind of a little bit about my background. I'm going to have my friend Jeff now share a little bit about yourself.
So I think I started teaching in the 5th grade. I was in the 5th grade. I was asked to tutor students. When I was in the 5th grade, it was 1975. And so a lot of Vietnamese immigrants were coming to the US, and I was paired up with another fifth grader who did not speak any English. So I taught him how to play basketball, and we had a great friendship. And that kind of started my love for teaching. I taught high school chemistry at Warren High School in Downey for 11 years. And then since about 1999, I've been at Cerritos College teaching chemistry, but it's also given me the opportunity to teach incoming teachers and teach teachers how to teach science at the K to 12 level. And so that's one thing we want to talk about tonight, but I love teaching. And so Wendy is now a very experienced teacher, and she's going to talk about herself.
Hi, my name is Wendy Torro, and I'm over at ABC Unified School District. So I currently work at Artesia High School. I'm with the science department. I'm currently teaching biology, chemistry, and medical chemistry honors. I've taught at middle schools before too. Great experience over at Fetty Middle School and Whitney Middle School, where I taught a STEM it was kind of like a STEM program over the summer. Some of the organizations I'm currently involved in is some research with technology over at Johns Hopkins, Cal State Long Beach, Cerritos College, ABCFT, and CASE. And that's a little bit more about me, I guess.
Thank you, Wendy. So I think what we didn't tell you is, Jeff and I have worked over the years on many programs and partnerships and grants and teaching, and you're going to hear some of that come out tonight. And you're also going to hear how Jeff and Wendy met. And so it's kind of this interchange between student, professor, friends, and a lot of that's going to come out tonight. So you can see how the impact of mentor relationships have really formed both of us as teachers, but also I think in our personal lives too. I'm going to share. Sorry, there you are, Jeff. I did introduce you, not just Wendy. How's that? I found this quote, and I thought it was pretty provocative. Mentoring is both a learning process and a teaching process. The mentor-mentee relationship is one of mutual benefits. And I know research evidence really suggests that mentoring increases academic status, GPA, course completion. Levels of students were higher than those enrolled in even a counseling and guidance class, which is higher comparable to students not having a mentor or enrolled in a counseling guidance class. So there is an academic benefit also of being involved with mentors. But I think what we also wanted to do is share with you a little personal about people have been mentors to us. And of course, Wendy and Jeff will share more in depth. But I really wanted to give tribute to, and it's a privilege to share about one of my mentors. When I was in graduate school, finishing my secondary credential and mathematics master's, I was among a group of 6 graduate students who was asked to teach freshman math classes. During the intense learning experience, one of my professors, Ruth Affleck, put a note in our mailboxes, and it was the old-fashioned kind of mailboxes. There wasn't computers barely yet, okay? And she said, I have some materials and some activities that I'm more than happy to share if anyone wants them. Well, I jumped all over the opportunity because I had like 1 or 2 books on my shelf and 0 activities. And that really began a 30-year mentor-mentee friendship with Ruth. I found out right away that my students responded positively to these activities and enhanced their learning. Ruth and I would have informal chats about teaching and learning and mathematics and how to employ the activities to enhance learning, to help students who were afraid of math, and as tools for learning process. My first professional presentation ever was with Ruth. She invited me to assist her at a workshop that she was giving for teachers in a local school district. My first professional conference presentation was with Ruth. She asked me to co-present with her. Both were huge milestones in my teaching journey. When Ruth went on sabbatical, she asked me to teach her beloved Math Without Fear course that she had developed in her absence. So all of the experiences, materials were instrumental and foundation to my teaching and learning process. And actually, when I began teaching at Cerritos College, I utilized this to help implement the Math for Teachers courses. Ruth and I remained present in each other's lives and were present for both the joyous and the difficult times. I attended and spoke at her retirement celebration. And after she retired and moved up to Falls City outside of Seattle, Washington, I visited her several times over the years. We would talk on the phone periodically. She would stay with me when she came down to Long Beach. She traveled with a group of us to the Galapagos Islands, and we also went kayaking in the Puget Sound together. Ruth even flew down to be with me when I received an Outstanding Alumni Award at Cal State Long Beach. And I flew up there to be with her when she was in the hospital and rode home with her in the ambulance when she came home the last few days of her life. So my mentor, my friend Ruth, truly impacted my life. Thank you for letting me share. And I am going to back up. Before we do that, I'm going to turn it over to Wendy, or just, excuse me, Jeff. If you want to share a few, I'm going to backtrack. Wendy, how about if you share the mentor relationship that you have with Jeff, and how was it initiated? Who initiated it?
So I was attending Cerritos College, and I was an undergrad there pursuing biology, right? So I ended up having Professor Bradbury as my chemistry teacher. And so I'd go and visit him during office hours. And then the more I got to spend time with, Professor Bradbury or Jeff, the more I felt like this was someone that would potentially be able to guide me in the path that I want to take. And I want to be a teacher. I want to be a science teacher, right? So I shared that with him. He shared his experience being a teacher, and after that, he was very supportive, and he understood basically the education field. He had been teaching for years before even becoming a professor himself. So I felt like this was someone that matched what I wanted to do in my career field. So we met at Cerritos College, and I actually joined, I think it was Teacher TRAC, because he did mention there was a program called Teacher TRAC at the time at Cerritos College. I think the name changed as of now, but that's where I met Sue as well. And I had a lot of support at Cerritos College. And that's where I met Sue. That's where I met Bradbury. And even after I transferred out of Cerritos College and headed out to Cal State Long Beach, I kept in communication with Bradbury. And till this day, he's still my mentor. He's still my number one that I go to when I need advice at work, when I need advice with school, when I need advice to what steps should I take to further, my career. And so that's pretty much a little bit about how we met. I don't know if Bradbury would like to elaborate a little bit more or add something I may have missed.
And I love how you call him Bradbury. I think that's very endearing.
It has, I just cannot call him Jeff. I just can't call him Jeff. Even emails after all these years, I just say Bradbury, Professor Bradbury. I can't break that habit. Sorry, Jeff, if you would like to add.
About, sharing a little bit about how to initiate be a mentor and the importance of mentors.
Yeah, so I've had good mentors my whole life. And I think life is about having a mentor. I wouldn't want to be caught without one, at least one. So I've had really good spiritual mentors and really good academic mentors. and really good professional mentors. And so I just want to repeat for those that are coming behind me what was given to me. So when I was in high school, I had Mr. Rice. He was my chemistry teacher. And then after I graduated from college, I wanted to teach, but I didn't know what to do. So I went back to him and I said, hey, I want to be a chemistry teacher like you. And he says, well, we have an opening, so you're going to teach here. And I taught next door to him until he passed away in 1997. And it was a great relationship. He listened to me. He would criticize what I did, and he did it in a gentle way, and he encouraged me. And that's the kind of thing that I want to do for others. So Wendy, I would say she is the one that initiated. As a professor, I have lots of students. And so somebody needs to. I got muted. Okay. I have lots of students, but it's those ones that come to office hours and ask questions. I think the most important thing about Wendy, that I think is the most important quality of somebody that wants a mentor or wants to be a mentee, is Wendy's teachable. That is so important. I mean, she is very teachable. So she doesn't know everything. She doesn't act like she knows everything. I mean, she knows a lot, but she doesn't act like she knows everything. So it's very rewarding to mentor somebody like that who wants to learn and listen to your experiences. And I think that's probably the most important quality in a mentor. Sue is one of my mentors. And one of the things about Sue is, yes. One of the things about Sue is she has certain character traits that I want. I just see something in her that's like, okay, I want to be like that. I want to teach like that. Even in putting together this presentation, we had to, I watch how she just deals with different situations on our campus. And it's like, I wanted, how did you do that, Sue? How did you diffuse that problem? I'm always going to her and asking that. So she's got some character traits I want. And I think that's a good way to choose a mentor. So we talked about how we initiate it. What's next, Sue?
What's next? We talked a little bit about the purpose. Jeff, I know you're such a busy person. You teach a full load. You're involved with programs and committees on the campus and statewide. We got you doing different things in the state. I also know your family is first and primary in your life, your church, woodworking, and baseball, if you guys didn't know that about him. Why mentor? What's the purpose? I mean, you don't have to spend that time. Why?
Well, that's all I'm going to leave. That's all I'm going to leave behind. I'm not going to leave baseball behind. That's just something for my enjoyment. Things I build in my workshop, that's just going to get burned someday. But I think the way to have an impact isn't by doing big things. It's by doing little things well, one person at a time. So I think about pouring into lives of students. That's going to have a greater impact than if I was a CEO of some company, some chemical company. I think it's all about the relationship, and that is what life boils down to, is relationship and building into others. So to me, it's an investment that's going to last forever, because I know Wendy's going to turn around and do the same thing for someone else someday. So I just think that's the most important thing I do is those relationships.
And Wendy, I know you're pretty self-confident and sufficient. You're bright. Why would you need a mentor? What are the benefits?
So in my slide, I do have some bullet points. So here's what happens when you go it alone versus having a mentorship. So when you go it alone, you're facing challenges on your own, resulting in stress. And that definitely hit me. I guess it was the first couple years, me being a freshman, sophomore in college. I admit I had no idea what I wanted to do, no idea what I wanted to pursue as, a freshman in college. I just didn't know what to expect or what to do. I was in I think it was called undeclared. So I was undeclared for those first 2 years, trying to figure myself out. And it did result in a lot of stress versus mentorship. Once I started seeking advice and support from a mentor, that's when I asked Bradbury, someone with experience, right? Having that help available doesn't make you weak. In fact, a solid support network cheering you on and lifting you up can help you be stronger, especially my personal experience. Like I do come from a household where everybody worked when I was in college. So I didn't really have, parents to talk to about what career move I should make or, just debrief with someone at home. So having a mentor, someone that's available there for you to support you and listen to you definitely did help. And it does help a lot. Going it alone, no accountability. I definitely needed that. Not everyone is willing to hear that, but you are held accountable if you have a mentor. They push you to be your very best. They question what you're doing. It's like, why did you get an F in my first exam, Wendy, right? We had that conversation. Bradbury stood outside and he pulled me aside, like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've been a little stressed. That's why I didn't do so well in that exam. I promise that I will work harder. And I did. And that moment, it felt like there's someone that noticed. Something was going on. I was a little bit stressed out, going through things alone. And then here's Bradbury that notices his students, cares about his students, and they want you to succeed, right? They push you to be your very best. And that's what I really liked about having this mentorship that I currently still have. I had minimal experience in the field. So when you're going at it alone, you have minimal experience in the field. You don't know everything. You don't have the answers to everything. You learn with every mistake that you make, right? My first year teaching, I had a lot of things that came up, like how to get along with other colleagues, how to handle stressful situations when you have to get things done by a certain deadline, right? What happens when parents are unhappy because their child isn't doing that well in your class, right? Having someone there with experience can help shape your path towards a successful career. Hearing Bradbury's personal experiences when he was a teacher and telling me that's nothing, you're fine, don't worry about it, you're stressing out too much with that. It definitely does help. Minimal knowledge, same thing. I don't know everything, especially when I first started teaching. I didn't have the answers to everything. So having someone that is there for you to share their experiences, you can learn from that, and that helps a lot. Minimal opportunities for personal growth, development, and social and economic opportunity. So when you're going through it alone, you don't have that many opportunities to, network or talk to people. Someone that can help you grow personally. So it helps to lean on mentors who help you and generally want to see you excel. Leave behind the ones who try to convince you your goals aren't worthy or attainable. So I do have a experience here, personal experience. When I transferred over to Cal State Long Beach, you do get assigned advisors and mentors, right? The one that I was assigned to, I honestly did not click with this person. And I feel like it's because they didn't really know me. And, having gone from a small campus, Cerritos College, to like a bigger campus like Cal State Long Beach, there wasn't enough time to build that relationship, to get to see, you know, your advisor during office hours, because at times they're busy, right? They're teaching, they're doing research on the side and so forth. So I didn't really get the best advice that I wanted from that advisor, and I left that advisor behind. I was actually crying after seeking support hours with this advisor. I just felt like he wasn't really understanding my personal goals. And I went to Bradbury and I told him about the situation. He was just in disbelief. So when I say leave behind the ones who try to convince you your goals aren't worthy or attainable, it just means to not give up. Just find someone that matches your goals, someone that matches what you want to achieve, and they're going to help you get there. So don't be discouraged, is what I would say. If you have someone that tells you you're not going to be able to achieve those goals, just, you know, say thank you for, you know, your opinion, or, you know, what you're telling me right now. Thank you for your advice. And then just seek someone that will support you. So yeah, that's pretty much it with going alone versus a mentorship. It helps you stay grounded. It helps you have someone back you up. It helps you hear a mentor's experience, them having gone through the same situation you do, so you can learn from that, and then lean on the mentors that are genuinely going to want to help you and see you succeed.
Thank you. We've touched upon it a little bit, but I want to drill down a little deeper on the impact of having a mentor, being a mentor. And I reflect back. Both Jeff, you've said you consider me a mentor, and I really think of the reciprocal. The quote that I had said before, that it's a learning and a teaching process, and I think the impact. You pushed me on the campus by your questions and can we do this? Is this possible? You pushed me to be a better director for our students and to give them more experiences because of going outside the boundaries of why can't we do this? Some of you may not know, but the first iPads in the classroom was because of Bradbury coming back from something and saying, can't we have sets of these? Can't we get these sets of iPads in our classroom and then learn how to really use them to enhance the teaching and learning? So I think it was really profound the way that you kept questioning and pushing me so that we could do better for our students. And I think of my own mentor, I think I pushed her sometimes and she pushed back, right? But that's when the true impact came out, is when we got out of our comfort zones a little bit, right? How about you, Jeff? Can you think of things how mentoring relationships have impacted your life?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't be where I am today at all. I wouldn't have survived my first year of teaching without a good mentor. I remember Dr. Rosenthal at Cal State Long Beach. She was the, when you do your student teaching, you have someone that comes and observes you from the campus, from the college, from the university. And I was just having a horrible day. I had a really rough class. One of my students disappeared and I asked the other students, where did he go? And they said to jail. It was just a horrible first few months of teaching. It was very hard and I did a lot of crying. And I remember Dr. Rosenthal brought me milk and cookies. She observed my class and I thought it was the worst lesson ever. And she found something, she found quite a few things that I didn't know that I did right. And she just encouraged me in those few things. And those were like little seeds that just grew into something much bigger. So it was people like that that helped me get through my first year. And so I really, if I know there's been a study done, I read it some years ago, where if a first year teacher has a mentor, their ability to survive that first year and have a thriving career just goes up exponentially, the chances of that. So if you're a first year teacher, you need to have a mentor. And it might not be as Wendy was saying, Wendy was very tenacious. She had this mentor that was assigned to her, but she found a mentor more organically. So it just kind of happened. That's how it worked out. So I think it's very wise. It was a very wise decision for Wendy to say this particular mentor relationship's not working. What she could have done is just gone totally into the dumps and said, I quit. But she didn't. And I think that's really important. And we really want to encourage you that if there's someone that's not encouraging you, go find somebody that will encourage you in the way that you need. So so later on, I became a mentor teacher in the Downey Unified School District. And I remember with, a lot of first year teachers just crying with them because it's tough. It was hard. But I also want to point out, like Sue did, that Wendy mentors me. She doesn't realize it. So when I go into her classroom and I see her energy and creativity, that really mentors me. Even while we're doing the Zoom meeting, you know how much stuff has to go on behind the scenes as we're doing the Zoom. And Wendy's like, can't we turn off the sound? I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to turn off the sound, the doorbell sound. She's like, turns it off. And I'm like, okay, Wendy, you're going to teach me how to do this. So it's definitely a two-way street, as Sue was saying.
So it sounds like, Jeff, you mentioned you both, and Wendy too, you've had mentors that were assigned and matched, and you also have organically sought out a mentor. And I think I have done the same. I've been a mentor, and we were matched and had some phenomenal experiences. And as you've said, Jeff, a lot of reciprocal learning from one another. And then I've had some mentors, as I mentioned and shared with you about Ruth, my Ruth, that was more organic. We just kind of found each other. Wendy, can you share a little bit how mentoring relationships have impacted your life? And I'm gonna.
So what's the impact of a mentor relationship? Let me just share my overall, I guess, career path. There you go, right there. So I don't think I would have been able to achieve all of that by myself. Even as I'm saying this and looking at it with you guys, I just can't believe I've done it all. If it wasn't for Bradbury's support throughout all these years, every time I apply to, let's say I apply to Johns Hopkins University, that was my next step. I want to get a master's degree, right? Started off at Cerritos College, slowly worked my way up to what I want to achieve, which is a PhD. Started off at Cerritos College, got my AA Natural Sciences, then transferred to Cal State Long Beach with and then got a bachelor's in general biology. I still kept in touch with Bradbury. I still needed advice. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if every decision I was making was a good one. And that's where Bradbury would step in. I would say, hey, I just received my bachelor's. And he actually came and saw me graduate, which meant a lot to me. After I graduate, I'm like, well, I want to be a teacher, but what do? Do I pursue my master's, or do I want to pursue the credential program? Because I can't do both. I mean, some colleges offer that where you can do a dual, but I wanted to just focus on one thing or another personally. So he said, get your teacher credential first and then get your master's, because that's what he did. So I'm like, okay, so I'll do that. So after I got my bachelor's, I enrolled into a credential program at Cal State Long Beach, and that's where I got my biology credential. Then after that, I'm like, okay, well, now I'm done with that. My next step that I want to do is receive a master's. Where do I want to go? Which school is the best one for me? What fits me the best? So then I looked up Johns Hopkins. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to get in, but it doesn't hurt to apply. Like, I just think, there's nothing to lose. And then I ran that through Bradbury. Every decision I've made there on that slide, I've talked back to Bradbury, right? Not talk back to him, but I've talked with Bradbury. So I'm like, I'm gonna apply to Johns Hopkins, wish me luck. And he's like, you'll get in, don't worry about it. And I'm just like so nervous here. Like, what is he talking about? Like, it's so hard to get in that school. Like, he really believes in me, right? So eventually I got accepted, couldn't believe it. Received my master's from there in educational technology. UCLA, I'm going to be pursuing biotech engineering. What is it? This fall, 2021. Yeah, fall 2021. Once I'm done with that, I want a PhD in educational leadership, but I don't know what school. Bradbury and I will figure it out when we get there. And then during that process, not just am I, excelling in my academics, I'm also personally growing, and he's seen me since I was like a young kid, not knowing anything. I think I was kind of silly and always laughing in his class, laughing at his jokes in class. He's just seen me grow. He's seen me grow personally and professionally. So with the help of my mentor, right, Bradbury, this is the impact that it's had in my career. I've been able to achieve all of these things, not by myself, but with a mentor supporting me, guiding me, telling me when I'm wrong, telling me what to do to fix it, and then me being humble throughout that process. I feel like I've been nothing but a little bit humble when it came to hearing what I needed to hear. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later tonight. But all of that has been a huge impact in my career, and I'm grateful for it. And I couldn't have done it without Bradbury. So thank you so much for that. So there it is, guys, right there, the impact of a mentor relationship.
Wow.
Thanks,
awesome.
Wendy. That's very kind.
Yeah.
There's a little exaggeration in there, though.
I was going to call you Sir Bradbury. We wanted to take a minute, and we wanted to give you a chance. We've been talking, and some of you are in a mentor program, have had mentors, or thinking about, why should I do this? But you've heard a lot of words. What do you think? 3 words that you think describe a good mentor. You could put them in the chat. And any words?
Honest,
Honest.
supportive, honest, kind, caring, friendship, support, understanding, role model, helpful, committed, lovely, helpful, supportive, communicating, supportive, helpful, insightful,
Insightful, nice word, yes.
guidance, supportive, honest, motivation,
Right.
yeah,
Good.
understanding. Mm-hmm.
How many of them do we see on here? Our artist, Miss Wendy, made this one for us, kind of depicting, right? Yes. Kind of the interesting,
Dependable.
part, right? Giving direction, coaching, supporting, advice, right? So I'm going to leave that up there while I ask Jeff and Wendy just another question or so. What have you learned, Wendy, so far that you'll apply in your next mentor-mentee relationship? When you're a mentor, what have you learned, Wendy, that you'll apply?
Well, something that I learned from this is the importance of being a good listener and being very patient. So I've learned this, especially with this pandemic with my students, being very understanding that all these students are being impacted in different ways right now. And not everyone has the support at home. And so something I've learned personally from Bradbury that I want as myself is being a good listener. So if my students come and tell me, hey, like I need extra time on an exam, I need extra time submitting homework, I'm being a little bit more understanding now, and the importance of being a good listener in where I let them vent, They can talk to me if they're having any issues with my class, if they're not being able to focus in my class. And that's something that's really important for students too, to have a teacher there that's able to just listen to them. Sometimes students need to vent. So in my next mentor-mentee relationship that I ever have, if I ever have one with a student, is being a good listener, encouraging them to not be discouraged at all if someone tells them they can't achieve those goals. I'm a perfect example of that. I started off at Cerritos College. Now I'm over here. It's like, how did I even get there? Right? With the help of a good mentor. Seen at that picture, right? We have mentoring. You have your goals that you set. You're being trained by your mentor. You're being motivated. You seek advice. You get advice, right? It leads to success. You have direction. They're telling you this is what you got to do to get to where you want to go. And then you have a coach, right? And support, more importantly. So something that I would really want to keep in mind when I have a mentor-mentee relationship is being a good listener, for sure. Being a good listener and being very patient too, because that's what Bradbury has had. Sometimes I just go into his office, even when he doesn't have office hours. I remember going to visit him on campus and he would be in the middle of a lesson and I would wait outside of his door with whatever personal, problem I had. I would just wait for him outside the door. I'm like, I hope he can receive me. If he's too busy or has to head out, I totally understand. But he would just see me. He's like, what's wrong? I have time. And he would make time for me, even when he was already done with the day. So I truly appreciate that. All of those little things do impact mentees, such as myself.
So giving that gift of time
in a positive way.
and listening are two things. They're not expensive. They're personally something that we can give the gift of to people, right? And Jeff, what would you add to that? Something that you've learned that you'll apply to your next mentor-mentee relationship?
Well, I think availability, just being available is very important. I kind of want to just, what does this mentor-mentee relationship look like? I thought I would share that briefly. So like, how does that look in the day-to-day? So Wendy mentioned she would just come to my office hours, or when she was at Cal State Long Beach, she'd send me an email, hey, is there a count next Wednesday at 2? Would that work? Okay, fine. So she also did not abuse my time or overuse my time. She was very respectful. I think that's very important. She's always been very respectful. So do we need to mute again? Okay, so then when Wendy went to started teaching at Artesia High School, she would ask me, hey, can you just come watch me teach? I'm like, sure. And I think it's good if it's possible to have somebody who's not, it's good to have mentors that you teach with. If you're, and like Wendy has mentors at Artesia High School, but it's also good to have at least one person who doesn't teach at that site. So Wendy can be very honest with me. I'm not going to say things about other staff members. I don't even know them. And she can vent. So she would invite me to come watch her teach, maybe for an hour or so. And then they're in between Artesia High School and Cerritos, almost directly in between is a Starbucks. So we'll usually debrief there over a cup of coffee in the afternoon and talk about what I saw in her classroom. So again, she's very teachable. I think also trying to build trust is the most important thing. There has to be trust between the mentor and mentee. And so that means that the mentor's not in it for themselves, even though I get a lot out of it. And I think empathy is also, I struggled as a teacher. There were many bad days I had, and I'm not afraid to say that. And so those things taught me how to be empathetic, so that if if a mentee is having a bad day, it's not the end of the world for me. I still can believe in them because I had many bad days. So I think not being perfect is the perfect quality for a mentor.
You've shared so many things that target responses. I think being vulnerable, but you have to have the trust to be vulnerable, right? Because it's not really an evaluative. You're not being evaluated like you would, but you're getting feedback. And to be able to take that, you have to have that trust. But again, that's when you grow, the mentor grows and the mentee grows. I think that's some good things to think about, that people aren't just, they're not judging you, they're trying to help you grow, that growth, right? So that,
Yeah,
as Wendy shared, wow, John Hopkins, huh? UCLA. We'll talk, Wendy, about educational leadership doctoral programs. I think some too. At this time, I know a few of you have put some questions in the chat, and but we would like to open up the floor to questions and answers. And Jeff and Wendy, did you want to do that in the chat, or do you want people to unmute? What do you think? What should we give a try?
Let's try the
I give
chat.
students.
Pardon me? Let's try.
Yeah, I give students options. So you feel comfortable putting it in the chat, do that. You feel comfortable unmuting yourself, you're more than welcome to do that. So I give students options. The chat is located at the bottom of your screen. Yeah, if you click on chat, that's the chat box in case you guys missed it.
A burning question from anyone? We couldn't have possibly answered everything. There we go. Here comes some.
So there's a question that says, how do you get your child development permit? I didn't get one, but I think that's more for Sue, if you can help out with that one.
So I would ask the person, Yun, to, if you want to contact the Teacher TRAC Center or the Child Development Department, they would be more than happy. That's a whole permit process, and it depends on what type. So that one, if you want to, I can put the Teacher TRAC address in, and you can, let me put that into the chat. That will help you out there, okay? Let me do that. Go ahead. The next one. One chat located, wait a minute. Do I need a mentor once I start teaching, or do you have to have a mentor when you teach? Well, what do you say to that, Wendy?
So Margarita, I would say to get a mentor as an undergrad who will guide you towards your goal and know you as of now. Building that trust and relationship takes time. If you wait until, you want to be a teacher, if you wait until then, it'll be a little bit difficult building that relationship that Bradbury and I talked about. I mean, we've known each other for how long? I think 7 years, maybe almost. And so that relationship was not built overnight. That relationship was not built within a year. It takes time to get to know and trust the mentor that you're choosing. So I hope that helped a little bit. Okay, yes, you're welcome. And then that leads back to someone asked a question about who can be my mentor. I actually have a slide right after the Q&A on who can be your mentor, but Margarita, yes, a principal can be your mentor, a teacher can be a mentor, a boss, a friend, and I'll touch base with that one in just a moment.
I think it's a good question. Someone asked, how do you get along naturally? Yeah, Dalia, my first generation student, and it's one of my challenges as a student. While mentors, mentees, oftentimes, I know my mentor, because I had some financial challenges, helped connect me like with financial aid, helped connect me. I had to get a student loan because my father had a heart attack, et cetera, without going into that. And so I think your mentors can help you. I would, if that's not directly your question about being a first generation student, there is a lot of help on campuses, and I would go to your financial aid office and also your, oh, what was Steve Richardson the director of? Come on, Jeff, help me there.
Foundation.
Your foundation office, they also give scholarships. So financial aid and your foundation office. Another one. Any others?
So here's one that says, even if I have a good connection with a professor, I have a hard time maintaining the relationship. Any advice on maintaining the relationship? Yeah. So I would say occasionally send emails. Try to once you've transferred or left the school, you can maintain that relationship. Hey, can I stop by and just talk? Those types of things. I would say that most of maintaining the relationship has been Wendy. She's been the one that's done most of the keeping it going. So I would say, I would really give you advice to just be persistent and keep, asking that professor if you can meet with them, and, ask them for advice. Professors love to talk, so they love to give advice. And if you feel like that advice is good, then you pursue it again. So I think also one other thing that Wendy very much sees and values. So this is something a mentee. She is really smart, as you can see, but she lacked experience. I mean, we all lack experience when we're just starting out. So she looked for someone who has experience and valued it. So that she valued that as important knowledge for her. Even though she's potentially a better teacher than I'll ever be, I think she values that experience that she doesn't yet have. And that's the kind of thing you want to look for in a mentor.
I think I also heard both of you say you valued and respected the time that each other put in, and that so because I'm looking at the question of what if other students want to have a mentor in their life? How do you get that mentor? You can ask someone to be the mentor, but you have to also, just as you want them to be there for you, you need to be there for them. It's a mutual time. Don't say, oh, can we meet? And then don't show up, because then you're not building the trust, which is so instrumental to the mentor-mentee relationship. So that's when, and I think, Wendy, there was a question, how did Professor Bradbury, or Sir Bradbury, as I will call him now, really motivate you throughout your life as a student until now? You think of things he
I
did.
feel he motivated me just by sitting there and listening to me vent. That's all it took. Him being a good listener, and then me just going on about what it is that I was stressed about, because my levels of stress were so high starting off as a teacher. And so I feel what motivated me was just his patience, the tone in his voice, being gentle when he gave me advice, when he told me that's not what you should be doing, this is what you should be doing. It was that tone of a voice that he had. It showed me that he cared about me. He's listening to me, and he has the best intentions to help me and support me in the problem that I had. So I feel like that was what I needed. I personally needed that motivation. I needed to have someone there listening to me, because I had no one to vent to, no one to talk to. And like he said, sometimes if you vent to someone at work, it's not the same thing. Having someone outside of work that can see things a different way, it totally does help. And it motivated me a lot. to keep moving forward. For what people say, the teacher burnout happens within the first 5 years where teachers quit. And I feel having a mentor has definitely kept me alive, I would say. So I hope that helped answer your question.
I want to share something before I'm going to go to the last slide, Wendy. I think I might have told you this the other day as we're kind of putting this together and preparing. I still remember the day that Jeff emailed. I could see him. The email was just coming out at me when he was sharing excitedly about you getting your teaching job at Artesia High School, and that Wendy and our teacher track graduate, and he's such a proud, he was so proud and excited for you. And so I think that's, I mean, I'm just beaming because getting to be here with the two of you and still being part of this intimate, there's an intimacy in the relationship too of mentor-mentee, and you're from the vulnerability and that you've been sharing that. So it's been just such a pleasure. With that, I'm going to go to the last slide because you're going to wrap it up. You do it so nicely. You know, I think we're going to share some pictures here and some how to build relationship. Go for it, Wendy.
So yes. So for participants that were asking me, who can I pick as a mentor? How do I initiate the conversation? This is a slide for you. So how do you build a mentor relationship? I took it down to 6 steps. Step 1, identify the mentor you want and how they will help you reach your goals. You can put this on a piece of paper or just put some thought to it. Like I said, I needed someone that could listen to me, that was patient, that was caring and understanding, and would be able to, you know, give me critique in a gentle way. So identify the qualities you want in a mentor and how they're going to help you reach your goals. Step 2 would be to set up the mentor meeting, or set up a meeting. Simply introduce yourself to your potential mentor and define your professional goals to them. So if you click on the slide, I think the second step will show up. Define your professional goals. And that's what I did with Bradbury. I first went into his office hours seeking support for chemistry. And then it led to me learning that he used to be a teacher, and I wanted to be a teacher too. And then eventually I set up a meeting, introduced myself professionally, and I said, you know, my name is Wendy and I want to go to Cal State Long Beach. My ultimate goal is to be a science teacher. I want to teach high school science. And he's like, I was a high school science teacher. Let me tell you, that is a rewarding career path. I will help you in this and that, right? And then I defined my professional goals to them. And then this is where we started to connect. So then after I felt, okay, well, we have a lot in common. So step 3, ask them if they're willing to be your mentor. So it just took me, you know, seeing him again. And then I just went, hey, I really don't know what I'm doing. I will admit I have no idea what I'm doing and I need some guidance. Are you willing to be my mentor? I understand if you have a lot on your plate or you're already mentoring someone else, that's fine. But I just wanted to ask you. So it doesn't hurt to ask that person once you get to know them, once they click with you, ask them if they're willing to be your mentor. Step 4, continue to build a professional relationship by sharing your accomplishments and failures. Here's a warning for you. Just be prepared to hear constructive criticism. You will hear both the good and the bad from your mentor. So just be prepared to hear that, because I have heard both from Bradbury, and it's helped me out a lot too. Step 5, continue to seek advice in life. So I've gone to see Bradbury during office hours for some personal things that I'm going through in life. Some of them having to do with me being a teacher, some problems that I would hear at work, things like that. So I continue to seek advice in life, and I would initiate just simply sending an email. Hey, I just wanted to catch up with you. This is what's been going on so far, et cetera, et cetera. And then step 6, don't forget to say thank you and that you appreciate your mentor. I can't thank Bradbury enough for all that he's done for me personally, professionally. He's been there for me. And I just hope that, you know, I reach that PhD, and even after I complete that PhD, I will still have Bradbury in my life. And I hope he responds to my emails after that. Who can be your mentor? Just real quick, because we're running out of time. A principal can be your mentor. A teacher can be your mentor. A professor can be your mentor. A friend can be your mentor. Someone that has experience in the field that you want to pursue. So if you want advice in a specific field, find that friend, that principal, that, that professor that's had that experience and is able to guide you with their own experience. So I hope this helped some of the questions that you guys had. Let me know if you still have any questions, but I think we're out of time.
Would you recommend having more than one mentor? I know my response.
I would say to try to, because let me tell you, you'll figure it out. If you have like around 2, I'm pretty sure you're going to narrow it down to that one person that you're going to click with naturally, that you're going to feel is helping you out. I only had one mentor, and that's Bradbury. That's the only person I ever listened to. I was even assigned advisors in grad school and as an undergrad. So at Johns Hopkins, I had an advisor. Cal State Long Beach, I had an advisor that was assigned to me. Did I stick with them? No, and that's okay. But you still have to meet with them and let the advisors know what you're doing. But my main mentor was Bradbury. He's the one that has guided me in every decision I've made in life.
It sounds like you differentiated between an advisor and a mentor. You might have a lot of advisors, but you had the one mentor, because it is a relationship and it is time. You both have said relationships take time. And so that's something I think with that question. I know we're out of time. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but I hope we gave everyone some food for thought. And as Wendy always said, we need to say thank you. And we want to thank you for sharing time with us this evening. Jeff, any other final words of wisdom? Sir Bradbury?
Yes, just be patient. It takes time. And sometimes mentoring just happens. And one of the most significant mentors in my life, I met with him maybe 2 or 3 times. I still see him once a year and say, hey, you remember that time you took me to breakfast? So it's not something that can be forced or rushed. Just, it's all about the relationship and the trust and the care. So just take your time and you'll be fine.
Thank you, Jeff. And Wendy, can you put one more time in the chat for those that would like us to send a certification participation? If you'll fill that out, it'll be forthcoming in a few days. The session is recorded. It will go to the LA Teach archives, and I think eventually be put on YouTube so you can listen to it again if you want to reflect back on it. I sincerely want to thank all of you for being here, and especially Wendy and Jeff. Again, it was an honor and a pleasure to spend this evening and this time and hear about your journey and your mentor journey. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks,
Have
Sue.
a great evening.
Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to stick around until everyone heads out, so I'll still be here.